Okay, we're going to be working in lesson 3.6 today, and it's called compound inequalities. So we're going to solve and graph inequalities that contain the word and then solve and graph that contain the word or. So let's backtrack a little bit to what a compound sentence is. All right, probably something you learned in elementary school. A sentence that's connected by the words and or. So I am going to the movies and to dinner. This implies that both parts are going to happen. Okay, so for an and, this has to be true and this has to be true. It's going to be the same thing when we look at them down here. Must be true for both parts when we're talking about inequalities in math. Okay, and then the other one is I'm going to the movies or I am going to dinner. Now, just by changing that one word, that changes what's going to happen. In this case, I'm either going to go to the movies or I'm going to go to dinner. So only one of the two parts needs to be true. So if I come down here, or it's true for at least one of the inequalities. It doesn't have to be true for both, just at least one, okay? All right, so a compound inequality is where we have two or more inequalities, and they're going to be connected by the words and or. So we're basically going to have two inequalities instead of one we're going to solve now. On an and this is going to be our focus today, is the and. We're going to work on the ors in the next video. So on the ands, okay, again, it must be true for both. And we're asking ourselves, where do they overlap when we're graphing them? Okay, so on a graph, where would they overlap? All right, so like I said, we're going to start by working on and statements, okay? And can be inclusive, so we include everything. All right, so write in a compound inequality that represents the phrase, then graph. All real numbers that are greater than -2 and less than 6. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Inequalities that are greater than 2. So instead of all real numbers, I'm just going to put a variable. So x is greater than -2, and then the word and shows up, and x, repeat the first part there, x is less than 6. Okay, so now this is what I'm talking about, a compound inequality. We've got two inequalities connected by and or. Now, when I ask you to graph these, we're putting them on a grid here. I've got -2 and 6. All right, so at -2, I'd have an open circle, and we would be heading to the right. On 6 here, I have an open circle, and we would be heading to the left. So remember, we are looking for where do they overlap. So if I'm thinking about it, where do I have double lines at? Well, everywhere in the middle is where I have a double line, so that's going to be my final answer. We will not include, oops, wrong one there. We will not include this part or this part in our final answer, okay? So when I write my final answer here, I've got an open circle on -2, an open circle on 6, and I'm shading everything in between. That's what that means, okay? So it has to be true for both. So the only place we have a double line or where it's true for both is in the middle. Now, technically, when we're writing this, we are going to start, we're going to do what I call scrunch it together, okay? So when we're looking at an and statement, you're going to start with your smallest number, so -2, put a variable in the middle, and then go to your biggest number, 6. Always put less than's down. All right, and then you're looking, are either one of these filled in? The answer is no, so there's no equal sign. This right here is your answer, okay? All right, so let's try it again. All real numbers that are between -4 and 8. So when we're saying between -4 and 8, it's just like it sounds. I'm going to put -4 and 8. I'm going to put a variable, I'm going to do m on this one, in the middle. Again, remember, it's always going to be less than. And then if we're between something, there would be no equal sign. All right, so because it's between, it's not actually equal to it. So now if you're going to graph, because it did ask us to graph, so I'm going to put -4 and 8 on here. Okay, now keep in mind when we're graphing that this first guy right here, we've got to rewrite him as m is greater than -4. Now we can graph that. Okay, so I'm going to have an open circle at -4 going this way. And then on the second guy here, we're going to share the middle, so the m is used with both. So it'll be, it'll be m, darn it, struggling. M is less than 8. So I have an open circle on 8, and I'm heading to the left. So again, where are they overlapping? There's a double line in the middle. So we're going to write that on our final grid here. open circle, and everything in the middle here has been shaded. Okay, so now in this case, so we already have your final answer because it's right here. You already wrote it. But again, it would be your small number to your big number, variable in the middle, always less than, and in this case, again, there's no equal signs because they're not filled in. Okay, so this right here would be your final answer. All right, so let's go down to example 2. It says write a compound inequality for the graph. Okay, so in this case, all they're giving you is the graph. You just got to come up with your answer. So again, start with your small number, -3. Put your big number, 3. Okay, and again, I can see it because it's just where our dots are at. Okay, put a variable in the middle. So I'm going to do x, always less than. Okay, so as long as we start with our smallest number, you'll always put less than's in there. Okay, and then we're looking, okay, are either one of these filled in? Well, the answer is no here, so this guy's good, but this is filled in, and since it's filled in, I'm going to go ahead and put an equal sign on it. Okay. All right, let's try the next one here. So again, start with your small number. So I'm starting with 0. My big number's 3. Variable in the middle, I'm going to use n on this. Again, they're always less than, and then we're looking, is one of them filled in? The answer, yep, that's filled in. So we're going to put an equal sign on it, and that's your answer. Okay, let's go ahead and flip to the next page. All right, so now on this one it says solve each compound inequality, then graph the solution. All right, now graphing is just part of this. You have to graph to make sure that your answer is correct. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in here. So in this case, again, we've got 2 inequalities with an and statement. So on and, where do they overlap? So I'm going to start by solving this first one. Draw a line or wall if you need to. We're going to add 3 to both sides. So y is greater than or equal to -8. Same thing on the second guy here. We're going to add 3 to both sides on this guy too. And y is less than or equal to -5. Okay, so now we go to our grid. So I've got -5, -6, -7, -8. Okay, so at -8, I have a closed circle because there's an equal sign on it, and it's heading this way. Okay, so I just graphed this guy right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and graph the second guy. I've got a closed circle on -5 heading this way. So now again, ask yourself, where is there a double line? Okay, so in this case, your double line's right here in the middle. So I want that information on your final grid. We want to do a closed circle, and everything in the middle. Okay, so now you write your final answer. Start with your small number to your bigger number. So -8, the variable here was a y, -5, put less than's in, and then since both of these are filled in, we need equal signs. Okay, now just a quick note here. See here, y is less than -5, y is less than -5. Now on the second part here, -8 is less than or equal to y. Well, that is what this guy is. It's just we had to flip them around. So it is the same thing, but we know that our variable has to be out front to graph. Okay, so this answer is here. It's just written backwards down in here. All right, let's try the next one here, B. Okay, so now when they write it like this and it's all scrunched together, this is an and statement, okay? They're not going to put the word and in there, but it is an and statement. And so you're going to subtract 7, you're still solving it, but you're going to have to do it from all 3 parts. So the 7's going to go out of the middle here. We have an R. You still got your signs. 6 minus 7 is -1, and 10 minus 7 is 3. Now, if that's kind of confusing and you're looking at that thinking, what did she just do? Go ahead and break it up. So I want you to go ahead and do 6 is less than or equal to r plus 7. And then r plus 7 is less than 10. So break it up. 6 is less than or equal to r plus 7. Okay, solve it. And then r plus 7 is less than 10. Okay, and you can just solve these two individually. You'll do the exact same thing. You'll subtract the 7 off and get -1. You'll subtract the 7 off here and get 3. So you get the exact same answer. It doesn't matter if I have it here or if I have it separated like this. Because at the end of the day, as long as they overlap in the middle, we're going to go ahead and put it back together. Okay? All right, so now we're going to graph, double checking to make sure things look good here. So we've got -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now keep in mind, right, we've talked about it, but this guy's got to be rewritten. So with the variable up front, you've got a closed circle heading to the right. All right, and then on this guy, the second guy here, the r is less than 3 is already ready to go. Open circle going this way. So again, now where are they overlapping? They're overlapping in the middle, so that's what's on your final grid. Closed circle here, open circle here, and shade in the middle. Okay. So in this case, what we had for our answer up above right here is the correct answer. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it though. -1 is less than or equal to r, which is less than 3. So this is what I'd be looking for. This right here is your final answer. Final graph, final answer. This stuff up here at top right here, this is just work. Okay? On the grid, I want to see where do they finally overlap, not all your work. So I want this answer right here on your grid, and then I want you to write it in this form. All right. I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try C on your own. Okay, so you should have started by subtracting 3 from both sides and getting 1/2 x is less than or equal to 6. Then we're going to multiply both sides by 2, or 2/1 to get those to cancel. So x is less than or equal to 12. And in this case, yay, it's already done. It's ready to roll. We don't even have to do anything there. Okay, so if I look here, I would have 12 and 21. I'd have a closed circle heading this way and a closed circle heading this way. All right, so this is a little different. We haven't seen something like this yet because the question is always where are they overlapping? So if I'm looking at this guy, they're not overlapping anywhere, are they? So if they don't overlap, that means they have no numbers in common. If they have no numbers in common, it's a no solution. Okay, so this would be your final graph with your final answer. Okay, let's go ahead and pause the video and try D now. So pause and try D on your own. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you broke it up or if you just chose to do it to all the parts. So I'm subtracting 4 from all 3 parts. So I have 12 less than, there's still a -2x in the middle there, and then a 16. So now divide everything by -2. Okay, so when you do that, you get -6, but you divide it by a negative. So did you flip your sign? X and -8. All right, so now let's go ahead and start kind of working on a graph here. So we got -8, -7, -6. So this guy, like I said, is already ready to go. We got an open circle, head to the right. Now again, on this first guy right here, we need to go ahead and rewrite him. So we're going to get x is greater than -6. Sorry, x is less than -6. So -6, open circle heading this way. So now again, where do they overlap? They're overlapping in the middle. So that's what I'm going to put down here on my final grid. Open circle, darn it. Open circle here, and everything in between. So your final answer is -8 to -6, variable in the middle, lessons, and since neither one had an equal sign on it, and neither one of these are filled in right here, this is our final answer. So there's your final answer with your final grid. And that concludes your and notes for lesson 3-6.